Imagine standing on an empty piece of land. No house. No walls. No roof. Just open ground stretching out before you, full of possibilities. To most people, it's just another vacant plot. But to an architect, an engineer, or an experienced builder, that same piece of land is already telling a story. The question is, can you read it? Every year, thousands of people buy land believing they've taken the first step towards building their dream home. The location feels right. The price seems like a bargain. The paperwork appears to be in order. Friends congratulate them. Family members celebrate. The future suddenly feels closer than ever. Then construction begins. The excavation starts. The first rains arrive. Water refuses to leave the site. The soil behaves differently than expected. Unexpected costs begin appearing one after another. The foundation design has to change. Retaining walls become necessary. Drainage systems that were never included in the original budget suddenly become unavoidable. What once looked like the cheapest plot of land slowly becomes the most expensive decision they have ever made. The painful part is that many of these problems didn't begin during construction. They were already there, hidden beneath the surface, waiting to be discovered or ignored. Buying land isn't simply about purchasing space. You're buying the ground that will carry every wall, every roof, every floor, and every memory your future home will hold. If that ground has problems, everything built above it inherits those problems. That's why experienced professionals don't begin by imagining the house. They begin by understanding the land. In this investigation, we're going to uncover 7 costly mistakes that many people make before construction even begins. We'll learn how architects evaluate a site long before drawing the first line of a floor plan. We'll explore what the landscape, the soil, nearby buildings, drainage, and legal documents can reveal about a piece of land. Most importantly, you'll discover practical checks that could save you from making one of the biggest financial mistakes of your life. Because before you invest in concrete, before you invest in blocks, before you invest in roofing sheets, you first invest in the land. And if you get that decision wrong, everything that follows becomes more difficult, more expensive, and far more stressful. So before you fall in love with the view, before you imagine where the living room will be, before you picture children playing in the garden, let's investigate what the land is trying to tell you. Because the strongest house in the world still depends on what lies beneath it. Let's begin with a simple question. If you visited 2 empty plots of land today, how would you decide which one is better? For many people, the answer is surprisingly simple. The cheaper one. The bigger one. The one closer to the main road. Or perhaps the one with the better neighborhood. Those things certainly matter. But they're not the first things professionals look for. When an architect visits a site, the house isn't the first thing on their mind. The land is. Because every piece of land has a story. The challenge is learning how to read it. Imagine walking onto a plot for the very first time. Instead of asking, "Where will I build the house?" ask yourself a different question. What has this land been trying to tell people for years? That question changes everything. Start by looking at the surrounding area. Do neighboring houses have large cracks running through their walls? Are there unusually high retaining walls? Do some buildings sit much higher than others? Has anyone raised the ground level to keep water away? These aren't just random features. They're clues. Sometimes, neighboring buildings reveal problems long before your own house ever will. Now look at the shape of the land. Is it completely flat? Does it slope gently? Or does it fall sharply in one direction? Many buyers see a steep slope as nothing more than an interesting view. Professionals see drainage patterns, excavation costs, retaining walls, and foundation design. A beautiful slope can become a beautiful expense if it isn't properly understood. Next, pay attention to the vegetation. Nature often knows the land better than we do. Healthy mature trees may suggest stable conditions in some locations. But certain plants can also indicate persistently wet ground or poor drainage. Thick reeds, water-loving grasses, or unusually damp vegetation may be telling you that water spends more time here than you realize. Brick and brain field note. Never judge a plot only during the dry season. If possible, visit again after heavy rainfall. A site that looks perfect in dry weather may reveal completely different conditions when the rain arrives. Now stop for a moment. Close your eyes. Listen. Can you hear flowing water nearby? A seasonal stream? Heavy traffic that wasn't obvious from the road? Industrial noise? Power generators? Sometimes your ears notice problems before your eyes do. Then look beyond the boundaries of the plot itself. What's happening around it? Is a major road planned nearby? Is there ongoing commercial development? Could future construction change drainage patterns or increase flooding risks? Remember, you're not just buying today's land. You're investing in tomorrow's environment. One of the biggest mistakes first-time buyers make is focusing only on what exists today. Professionals also think about what the area may become 5, 10, or even 20 years from now. Another mistake is rushing. Excitement is one of the most expensive emotions in property. The moment people hear someone else is interested in the same plot, they feel pressured to make a quick decision. But land has usually existed for decades. It deserves more than a 30-minute inspection. Walk across it. Stand quietly. Observe. Ask questions. Return another day if necessary. Good decisions rarely come from rushed inspections. By now, you might be thinking, surely looking at the surface can't tell us everything. You're right. Because the biggest secrets are often hidden underground. And that's exactly where our investigation goes next. If someone asked you what determines the strength of a house, what would you say? The concrete? The steel reinforcement? The blocks? The roof? Those are all important. But none of them touches the ground directly. Every house depends on something most people never see: the soil beneath it. Think of soil as the foundation's foundation. No matter how well a house is built, it can only perform as well as the ground supporting it. And not all soil behaves the same way. Some soils are firm and stable. Others expand when they become wet and shrink as they dry. Some drain water quickly. Others trap moisture for weeks. Some have been disturbed by previous construction and filled back in without proper compaction. From the surface, they can all look almost identical. That's what makes them dangerous. Imagine placing two identical houses on two different plots. The houses use the same drawings, the same materials, the same contractor, the same budget. 5 years later, one still looks almost new. The other has cracked walls, uneven floors, and doors that refuse to close properly. What changed? Often, it wasn't the house. It was the ground beneath it. One of the most misunderstood terms in construction is filled land. Filled land is ground that has been artificially raised or leveled using imported materials such as loose soil, sand, rubble, or construction waste. Sometimes it's properly engineered and compacted. Sometimes it isn't. When poorly prepared, that ground continues settling long after construction has finished. As the soil settles unevenly, the building above begins to move with it. That's when cracks, sloping floors, and structural stress can begin to appear. Brick and brain field note. If a plot appears significantly higher than neighboring land, don't assume that's an advantage. Ask why it was raised. Ask what material was used. Ask whether it was professionally compacted. Those answers could influence your entire foundation design. Now let's talk about water. Not the water you can see, the water you can't. Beneath the ground lies something called the water table. This is the level below which the soil is naturally saturated with water. In some locations, it's deep below the surface. In others, it's surprisingly close. A high water table doesn't automatically mean you shouldn't build. But it does mean the design may need to change. Foundations, drainage, waterproofing, excavation methods. All of these can become more complex and more expensive. Ignoring those conditions doesn't make them disappear. It simply means you'll discover them after construction has already begun. Now here's something many first-time buyers never consider. The plot you're standing on may not have always been dry land. It could have been part of a seasonal floodplain, a filled pond, an old refuse site, or land reclaimed years ago for development. Without proper investigation, those hidden histories remain exactly that. Hidden. This is why experienced professionals don't rely on appearances alone. They ask questions. They review available records. And when necessary, they recommend geotechnical investigations. A geotechnical investigation studies the ground beneath a site. It helps determine how the soil will behave under the weight of a building and provides engineers with the information needed to design suitable foundations. For small residential projects, the level of investigation depends on local conditions, regulations, and the advice of qualified professionals. But one thing remains true everywhere. The cost of understanding your soil before construction is usually far less than the cost of repairing a building after construction. So before you decide that a plot is perfect, remember this. The land isn't just what you see. It's also what you can't see. And sometimes, the invisible parts make all the difference. But even stable soil can't protect a home if water has nowhere to go. Our next investigation follows the path of every rainfall. Because one storm can reveal more about a piece of land than months of sunshine ever could. Imagine two identical plots of land. They sit side by side. They cost the same. They look almost identical on a sunny afternoon. If you had to choose between them today, you might struggle to tell the difference. But wait until the rain comes. Water has a remarkable way of exposing truths that dry ground hides. It doesn't care how beautiful the land looks. It simply follows gravity. And wherever it goes, it leaves clues. This is why experienced architects and engineers never ignore drainage. Because water is patient. If it can't flow away from a site, it will find another path. Sometimes that path runs beneath your foundation. Sometimes through your walls. Sometimes into your living room. One heavy storm can reveal problems that months of sunshine never will. That's why one of the best times to inspect land is shortly after a significant rainfall. Look carefully. Is water still standing on the site? Are there muddy patches long after neighboring plots have dried? Can you see erosion channels where flowing water has cut through the soil? These are not just temporary inconveniences. They are warning signs. Brick and brain field note. A puddle is more than a puddle. If water remains on a site for an unusually long time, ask why. Poor drainage today can become expensive foundation problems tomorrow. Now look beyond the boundaries of the land. Where does rainwater from neighboring properties go? Does it naturally flow across the plot you're planning to buy? Is the site positioned at the bottom of a slope where runoff from higher ground collects? Many buyers only think about the water that falls directly on their land. Professionals think about all the water that eventually reaches it. That difference in thinking can save thousands. Next, pay attention to the road. Is the plot lower than the road level? Or is it significantly higher? Roads are often resurfaced over many years, gradually becoming higher than the surrounding properties. If your finished floor level isn't carefully planned, rainwater may begin flowing towards your home instead of away from it. A beautiful entrance can quickly become a flooded entrance. Now consider the drainage infrastructure around the neighborhood. Are there visible drainage channels? Do they appear well maintained? Or are they blocked with debris and vegetation? Even a well-designed house can experience problems if the wider drainage system around it cannot cope with heavy rainfall. And here's another question that many people never ask. Has this area flooded before? Local residents often know the answer. Speak to them. Ask what happens during the rainy season. Ask whether roads become impassable. Ask if homes nearby have ever experienced flooding. Their experiences may reveal information that no sales brochure ever will. Remember, people who have lived in an area for years have witnessed seasons that you haven't. Their knowledge is valuable. Now imagine building your dream home without asking any of these questions. The rainy season arrives. Water begins collecting around the foundation. The garden never fully dries. Moisture slowly works its way into walls. Years later, you're paying for repairs that could have been prevented before construction even began. The frustrating part isn't that the water appeared. The frustrating part is that it had always been there. The clues were visible. They were simply overlooked. By now, we've investigated what the land looks like. We've explored what lies beneath it. We've followed the path of water. But there's another danger that isn't hidden in the soil or the rain. It's hidden in paperwork. Because even the perfect piece of land can become a nightmare if you don't legally own the right to build on it. And that's where our investigation goes next. Let's imagine something for a moment. You've done everything right. You've inspected the land. You've walked the site. You've checked the drainage. You've even spoken to the neighbors. Everything looks perfect. Then, just weeks after making payment, someone arrives claiming the land belongs to them. Construction stops. Lawyers become involved. Your savings disappear into legal fees. The project you've dreamed about for years suddenly becomes a courtroom battle. As shocking as that sounds, situations like this happen far more often than many people realize. That's because buying land isn't only a physical decision. It's also a legal one. A beautiful piece of land means very little if your legal right to own or build on it isn't secure. One of the biggest mistakes buyers make is believing that documents are enough simply because they exist. But professionals don't just ask. Are there documents? They ask. What do those documents actually prove? Another common mistake is relying entirely on verbal promises. The seller says everything is fine. The agent says there are no problems. A friend says the land has a good reputation. Those opinions may be sincere. But property decisions should never depend on assumptions. They should depend on verification. Brick and brain field note. Never confuse confidence with evidence. Someone sounding certain doesn't make the information correct. Always verify important claims through qualified professionals and the appropriate authorities. Now let's talk about surveys. Many people think a survey only shows the size of the land. In reality, a professional survey can reveal much more. It helps identify the exact boundaries. It reduces the risk of boundary disputes. It confirms whether what you're being shown matches what you're actually buying. Without clear boundaries, today's agreement can become tomorrow's disagreement. Then there are easements. It's a word many first-time buyers have never heard. An easement is a legal right that allows someone else to use part of a property for a specific purpose. That could include drainage infrastructure, utility services, pipelines, access routes, or other public interests. You may own the land. But that doesn't always mean you can build anywhere you choose. Another issue is the right-of-way. Imagine building your dream house only to discover that neighbors have a legal right to pass through part of your property. Suddenly, your carefully planned design has to change. Privacy becomes more difficult. Security becomes more complicated. These are problems that should be discovered before buying, not after construction begins. Planning restrictions can also affect what you're allowed to build. Some areas have development controls relating to building height, setbacks, land use, environmental protection, or infrastructure corridors. Ignoring these requirements can lead to expensive redesigns, delays, or even enforcement action. This is why experienced architects rarely begin designing immediately after a client purchases land. The first step is understanding the site's opportunities and its limitations. Good design starts with good information. Now here's another question. Who actually owns the land? The answer isn't always as straightforward as it appears. There may be multiple family interests, outstanding disputes, inheritance issues, or claims that haven't yet been resolved. Buying without proper due diligence can place you in the middle of a conflict you never created. Remember, a house can be redesigned. A foundation can be strengthened. A drainage system can be improved. But solving ownership disputes after you've invested your savings is often far more difficult. By now we've investigated the land itself. We've investigated the soil. We've followed the water. We've examined the paperwork. But there's one final mistake that quietly turns affordable land into an expensive project. It isn't hidden underground. It isn't hidden inside legal documents. It's hidden inside the total cost of building. And it's the mistake that surprises more first-time builders than almost any other. Let's play a simple game. Imagine I offer you 2 plots of land. The first costs £18,000. The second costs £24,000. Most people instinctively choose the cheaper one. After all, saving £6,000 sounds like a smart decision. But what if I told you that 6 months later, the cheaper plot had already cost its owner an extra £15,000 in unexpected construction expenses? Suddenly, it isn't the cheaper plot anymore. This is one of the biggest misunderstandings in property. People often confuse the purchase price with the total cost of ownership. They are not the same. The price you pay for land is only the beginning. The real question is, how much will it cost to make that land ready for your house? Imagine buying a plot that's covered with thick vegetation. At first, clearing the site doesn't seem like a major expense. But after removing the trees, workers discover large buried rocks. Excavation slows down. Machinery is brought in. Labor costs increase. Your budget begins to stretch long before the first foundation is even dug. Now imagine another plot. This one sits on a steep slope. The view is spectacular. You can already picture yourself enjoying sunsets from the balcony. But before you can build safely, engineers recommend retaining walls. Those walls aren't optional. They protect the soil from collapsing and help support the land around the building. They're essential. And they're expensive. Brick and brain field note. Never ask only, how much does the land cost? Also ask, how much will it cost to prepare this land for construction? That single question can completely change your decision. Now let's think about access. The plot looks perfect. Until construction begins. Large delivery trucks struggle to reach the site. Concrete mixers can't enter easily. Building materials have to be carried long distances by hand. Every delivery takes longer. Every stage costs more. The land didn't change, but the logistics did. Next comes something many first-time buyers forget. Utilities. Where will your water come from? How will electricity reach the property? Is there a public sewer nearby, or will you need an on-site wastewater solution? What about internet connectivity? These aren't exciting questions, but they have very real costs. Sometimes the nearest utility connection is much farther away than expected. Extending those services can become a significant part of the overall project budget. Now consider the surrounding neighborhood. Perhaps the roads are still unpaved. Drainage infrastructure hasn't been completed. Street lighting hasn't been installed. Development may eventually improve these conditions. But if you're building today, you need to plan for today's reality, not tomorrow's promises. Here's another hidden expense. Foundation design. Many buyers assume every house needs the same type of foundation. In reality, foundation design depends on the conditions beneath the site. Different soils and site conditions may require different engineering solutions. Those decisions should always be based on qualified professional advice. Trying to save money by ignoring those recommendations often leads to much greater costs later. Think back to episode 1. We discovered that many building failures begin long before cracks appear. This is one of those moments. The decisions you make before construction begins often determine whether your future home becomes a source of pride or a source of expensive repairs. Now here's something experienced builders understand. The best project isn't always the one that starts with the cheapest land. It's the one that has the fewest surprises. Because every unexpected problem affects something else. A delayed excavation delays the foundation. A delayed foundation delays the structure. A delayed structure delays roofing. And every delay increases costs, pressure, and frustration. By now, you might be wondering, if there's so much to consider before buying land, how do professionals manage to make the right decision? The answer isn't luck. It isn't guesswork. It's a process. A trained eye sees things that most people simply walk past. In our next investigation, we're going to walk onto an empty plot together. Not as buyers, but as architects. And once you've seen a site through an architect's eyes, you'll never look at land the same way again. We've spent this entire investigation talking about the land. Now it's time to see it through different eyes. Not through the eyes of a buyer. Not through the eyes of a seller. But through the eyes of an architect. Imagine we're standing together at the entrance of an empty plot. Most people would immediately ask, "Where should the house go?" An architect asks a completely different question. "What is this site trying to tell me?" Before measuring anything. Before sketching a floor plan. Before imagining the living room. The site comes first. The first thing I notice isn't the land itself. It's the sun. Where does it rise? Where does it set? How does sunlight move across this plot throughout the day? Because a well-designed house doesn't fight the sun. It works with it. Imagine placing your largest living room windows where the afternoon sun becomes unbearably hot every single day. Your air conditioning works harder. Your energy bills increase. Your family avoids one of the most beautiful rooms in the house. Not because the room was badly built, but because the site wasn't properly understood. Now I stop and feel the wind. Which direction is the natural breeze coming from? Can the future house capture that breeze? Or will neighboring buildings block it? Good ventilation isn't created by expensive fans. It begins with intelligent site planning. Brick and brain field note. Nature provides free light and free ventilation every day. A good design learns to use both before relying on technology. Next, I begin looking outward. Not at the land, but beyond it. What's next door? A quiet family home? A busy commercial property? An industrial facility? A school? A place of worship? An empty field that may become a shopping center in 5 years? Many buyers purchase land based on what they see today. Architects also think about what they may see tomorrow. Now I study privacy. If every bedroom window directly faces the neighbor's living room, privacy disappears before construction even begins. A small adjustment to the position of the building can completely change how comfortable that home feels for decades. Then I look for existing trees. Not because they're beautiful, although many are, but because they tell stories. Healthy mature trees may suggest stable ground conditions in some locations. Large trees also create valuable shade and improve outdoor comfort. However, some trees have extensive root systems that require careful consideration during design and construction. Every tree deserves to be understood before deciding whether it should remain or be removed. Now I walk the entire site. Slowly. I'm looking for anything unusual. Changes in ground level. Signs of previous excavation. Old concrete hidden beneath vegetation. Evidence that the land may have been altered years ago. Sometimes the smallest observation answers the biggest question. Then I stand quietly. No talking. No measuring. Just observing. Can I hear heavy traffic? Aircraft overhead? Industrial machinery? A nearby generator? These sounds become part of everyday life once the house is built. Ignoring them today doesn't make them disappear tomorrow. Now imagine two families building identical houses. Same architect. Same contractor. Same budget. One family enjoys cool natural ventilation. Bright interiors. Lower energy bills. Privacy. Beautiful views. And comfortable outdoor spaces. The other family struggles with overheating. Dark rooms. Constant noise. Poor airflow. And a house that never quite feels right. The difference wasn't the building. The difference was understanding the land before designing the building. This is why experienced architects spend so much time studying a site before drawing the first line. Because once construction begins, changing the position of an entire house is almost impossible. But changing a drawing, that's easy. Good design starts long before beautiful architecture. It starts with careful observation, with asking better questions, with understanding the opportunities, and respecting the limitations of the land itself. By now, we've investigated almost everything. The landscape, the soil, the water, the paperwork, the hidden costs, and the architect's perspective. There's just one final step. Let's bring everything together into a practical checklist you can use before buying your next piece of land. We've covered a lot in this investigation. We've looked beyond the surface. We've followed the water. We've explored the soil beneath our feet. We've uncovered hidden costs. We've examined the paperwork. And we've learned to see land through the eyes of an architect. Now let's bring everything together. The next time you stand on an empty plot, don't let excitement make the decision for you. Instead, ask yourself these 7 questions. Question 1. What is this land trying to tell me? Look at the surrounding buildings. Study the slope. Observe the vegetation. Listen to the environment. The land always leaves clues for those willing to notice them. Question 2. What lies beneath the surface? Don't assume the ground is suitable simply because it looks level. Understand the soil conditions and seek professional advice where appropriate. Question 3. Where does the water go? Visit after rainfall if you can. Watch how water enters the site. Watch how it leaves. If it doesn't leave, ask why. Question 4. Have I verified the legal position? Don't rely on promises. Confirm ownership, boundaries, planning requirements, and other relevant documentation through qualified professionals and the appropriate authorities. Question 5. What will this land really cost? Not just the purchase price. Think about excavation, site preparation, utilities, drainage, access, and foundation requirements. The cheapest land isn't always the most affordable to build on. Question 6. Have I looked at this site like an architect? Where will the sun travel? Where will the wind come from? What will I hear every day? What will I see from my windows? How will this land affect the way my family lives for years to come? And finally, question 7. Have I asked the right people? Buying land is one of the biggest financial decisions many people will ever make. Don't carry that responsibility alone. Speak with qualified architects, surveyors, engineers, planning professionals, and legal experts where necessary. The right advice before buying is almost always less expensive than solving the wrong problem after buying. Brick and Brain Field Note: a site visit should never answer only one question. It should answer every question that could cost you money later. Now think back to the beginning of this investigation. We stood together on an empty piece of land. At first, it looked ordinary. Just soil. Just grass. Just open space. But now, you know better. You know that beneath every successful home is a series of good decisions. And the very first one is choosing the right land. Brick and Brain rule number 2. Never fall in love with the land before you understand the land. That single principle can save you years of frustration and thousands in unnecessary costs. If this investigation changed the way you look at an empty plot, then it has achieved its purpose. Share this video with someone planning to buy land. You might help them avoid a mistake they'll never have to pay for. And if you're enjoying these investigations, consider subscribing to Brick and Brain and turning on notifications. Every episode is designed to help you make smarter property decisions before expensive mistakes happen. Because the best investment isn't simply buying property. It's buying knowledge before you buy property. In our next investigation, we'll uncover a surprising truth. Even the perfect piece of land can't save a poorly designed house. We'll reveal the house design mistakes that look beautiful on paper but create expensive problems in real life. Until then, I'm James, and this is Brick and Brain. Building smarter property decisions.